Tomorrow morning, in the first few seconds after your eyes open, your blood pressure and heart rate are already starting to climb. That happens to everyone every day. What you do in the next minute after that decides whether a second climb gets stacked right on top of the first one. Here's the one thing this whole video is about. The moment you wake up, before you've even moved, your body has already started turning up your blood pressure and heart rate slightly. That's just how waking up works. It's automatic, it's normal, and it happens to everyone, every morning, for your entire life. Here's what's different after 60. If you then get out of bed quickly, sit up and stand in one motion the way most people have done their whole lives without thinking about it, that movement causes a second separate rise. Blood has to suddenly move against gravity, and your heart and blood vessels have to react fast to keep up with that change. 2 rises back to back with almost no gap in between, each one completely normal on its own. It's the stacking, one landing right on top of the other before the first has settled, that changes things. When you were younger, your body was quicker at settling that first rise, and quicker at handling the second one too, so even when they overlapped slightly, it wasn't really noticeable. As you get older, both of those things slow down a little. The first rise takes a bit longer to ease off, and the second one takes a bit more out of you to manage. So an overlap that didn't used to matter starts to matter more. And here's the part that makes this worth your time. Heart attacks are already roughly 40% more common in the few hours after waking than at any other time of day. That's been known for decades. This video isn't about a new risk. It's about one habit that decides whether you're stacking a second spike on top of a window that's already the riskiest part of your day, or giving your body a few extra seconds to handle the first one before the second begins. This is also the kind of thing that doesn't matter on any single morning. One morning of rushing out of bed isn't going to do anything noticeable. What this is really about is the fact that you do this every single morning for years, which means a tiny daily difference repeated for years is the kind of thing that actually adds up to something. Small and daily beats, big and rare, and this is about as small and daily as it gets. There's a particular kind of pride some people carry about their mornings that has nothing to do with how the rest of the day goes. It's getting up the way you've always gotten up. No careful planning, no easing into it, none of the sitting on the edge of the bed, gathering yourself that you've maybe noticed other people your age starting to do. You get up. And there's a small, private satisfaction in that. A quiet sense that you're still yourself, that the slowing down everyone talks about hasn't reached you yet. That feeling is real, and it matters to people. It's also, in this one specific case, exactly backwards. The speed isn't evidence that you're fine. It's the thing creating the second spike. You might recognize this in small ways. Maybe you're the one who's dressed and downstairs, while someone else in the house is still moving slowly through their morning, and there's a part of you that quietly notices that difference. Maybe getting up quickly has just always been part of how you see yourself, energetic, capable, not someone who needs to take it slow. None of that has to change. The only thing this video asks is for that energy to start about 60 seconds later than it currently does. One thing before we go further. If you ever feel chest pain, pressure, or shortness of breath, specifically when you wake up or when you stand, that's not something to wait on. That needs medical attention. If you've been diagnosed with a blood pressure condition related to standing up, talk to your doctor before changing your morning routine. Everything else here is just about adding a small gap where right now there isn't one. Before we go further, one thing worth saying plainly. None of this means your mornings are dangerous, and it doesn't mean anything is wrong with you specifically. 2 rises happening close together is normal. It happens to almost everyone over 60, every single day, and the overwhelming majority of those mornings are completely fine. What this video is about isn't fear, it's a gap. A small, free adjustment to something that happens every day anyway, the kind of change that's easy to make precisely because nothing about it is dramatic. Picture James. He's 67, and tomorrow morning, here's roughly what happens in his body. The same thing that's been happening to him every morning for years without him ever knowing it. His eyes open. Before he's even thought about moving, his heart is already beating a little faster than it was a few minutes ago, and his blood pressure has already ticked up. That's the first rise. It's automatic, it's normal, and his body would handle it just fine on its own, given a little time. But James doesn't give it time. The way he always has, he sits up and stands in one motion in about 2 seconds. The moment he's upright, gravity pulls blood downward, away from his heart and head. And his body has to react immediately, heart beating faster still to push that blood back up. That's the second rise. And it lands directly on top of the first one, which hadn't settled yet. If you've ever stood up quickly and felt your heart pound for a second, or felt very briefly lightheaded before it passed, that's this. Most people have felt it at some point and thought nothing of it, because it passes in a second or two. That brief feeling is literally the two rises landing on top of each other. It's a bit like two small waves arriving close together and briefly forming one bigger wave where they meet. Each wave on its own is nothing. But if they arrive at exactly the same spot at exactly the same moment, for that one moment, they're bigger than either was alone. That's what's happening in James's chest for those couple of seconds. Two small, completely normal rises arriving close enough together that for a moment they're working as one larger one. For those couple of seconds, James's heart is working harder than it will again until he's properly active later in the day. And it's doing that during the part of the morning when, for reasons that have nothing to do with him personally, his body is already under more strain than usual. This happens to almost everyone over 60, most mornings, and almost nobody knows it's happening. The fix is one simple change, and it's built entirely around giving that first rise a little time before the second one starts. Tonight, put a glass of water on your nightstand, somewhere you can reach it without standing up. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, don't stand right away. Sit up first and stay sitting on the edge of the bed for about a minute. While you're sitting, drink the water and slowly point your toes down and flex them back up 10 times. That's it. The minute of sitting gives the first rise, the one that started the moment you woke up, time to ease off slightly before you stand and trigger the second one. The ankle movements help your legs start moving blood back upward gradually, instead of all at once the moment you stand. And the water helps things move a little more easily generally, first thing in the morning, after several hours with nothing to drink. You might notice, the first few times you try this, that standing up after the minute feels noticeably calmer than your usual rush out of bed. That's not your imagination. That's the gap working. None of this takes more than a minute. None of it requires anything except a glass of water that's already in the room. The only thing that's actually changed is timing, giving two normal things a little space between them instead of letting them land on top of each other. The honest truth is, you'll probably forget tomorrow. Most people do, the first morning, simply because getting up quickly is automatic after 60+ years of doing it that way. That's fine. The glass of water on the nightstand is there specifically so that even if you forget the sitting part, reaching for it in the first few seconds gives you a natural pause anyway. After a few mornings of seeing that glass and being reminded, the sitting part tends to follow on its own. You're not trying to build a perfect habit overnight. You're just trying to interrupt one automatic thing often enough that it stops being the only option. 3 things before tonight is over. Put a glass of water on your nightstand, right now if you can, so it's there tomorrow without you having to think about it. Decide right now that tomorrow you'll sit up first and count to 60 before standing. Just once. See how it feels. And while you're sitting there tomorrow, do the 10 ankle pumps. Toes down, toes up, slow. If this is the first time you've ever thought about those few seconds between waking and standing, you're not alone. Almost nobody does, because nothing about it feels like a big moment. It's just getting out of bed. But it happens every single day, which is exactly why a small change to it adds up. 2 quick things in the comments. First, yes or no? Do you currently get up quickly, the way James always has? Second, what time do you usually wake up, and your age and where you're watching from? It helps me know how many people this is actually reaching and what to cover next.